Hi guys, so today's video is a very requested one and it's all the things that you need for your first horse. So I own 5 horses, but I also recently, a couple of years ago, went to university and bought Charlie and had him on a livery yard. So I had to go and buy all new stuff for him. So I know how difficult it is trying to remember everything you need. So I thought if I put it all in one video, it's so much easier for you guys. So the first things that I'll say that you really do need are a lot of commitment, because horses are the biggest commitment ever. They need doing, whether it's Christmas, whether you want to go on holiday, they need seen to. So they need seen to every single day, a couple of times a day generally. So you do need a lot of commitment. You are also going to need quite a decent amount of money to begin with. Horses are expensive to buy, but then the amount of stuff they need on top is even more expensive. Their upkeep, so it's not just like, oh, I've got my savings, that'll do me for getting them and getting all their stuff. The amount of money you're going to spend just keeping them is ridiculous. Livery, vets bills, farrier bills, insurance, feed, bedding, all of that, it soon adds up and they are very expensive. That's just something I want to stress first, because I don't want people to think, oh, I'll just get a horse and it's really easy, because it's really not. So the next thing that you're going to definitely need is insurance. Insurance for me, for Charlie, costs about £40 a month. That's just for one horse. So that is something that you need to take into account. I definitely recommend sort of getting a spreadsheet up of what it's going to cost you each month and working it out before you get a horse. So the reason you need insurance is because if they ever injure themselves, you are going to have to pay a lot of money in vet's fees, and you definitely want insurance to pay that for you. I know when Taffy had a tooth removed, it cost something like £700. If we've had colic and colic surgery, we are going into the multiple thousands. So it's a lot of money that you probably don't have sitting in the bank, and your horse won't get seen to if you don't have insurance. So you definitely need to get your horse insured. That is the number one thing. So obviously you're going to need somewhere to keep your horse. So these are my stables at home. So we have indoor stables. Obviously if you don't live on a farm or you don't have the land to have them in your own place, you're going to need to find a livery yard. One thing I'd recommend when looking at livery yards is look at how much they cost. Speak to the people in the yard, see how friendly they are, because a lot of livery yards I've been on can be quite bitchy, and you don't want that sort of environment, especially if it's your first horse. Look at the facilities they have, and all-weather arena is definitely a plus, something I'd never go to a livery yard if they didn't have. Obviously you need to balance out costs and things like that, and also think about what bedding the livery yard allows you to have. So that's one thing that you're going to need is bedding. So you're either going to need straw or shavings or whatever sort of weird beddings they do now. So that is the first thing you need is bedding. You're also going to need to find a supplier for hay. So you are going to go through a lot of hay. So if you're getting straw, you might as well get hay from the same supplier, because generally if you order enough, the farmer will deliver it to you, which it saves you doing a million trips in your car and shoving it all in. So you're going to need hay and straw, or whatever bedding you want. So the other thing that you're going to need to find is a farrier and a vet. So it's really important that you know your local equestrian vet or equine vet. So if you sort of get in touch, see which ones the people in your yard use, and which ones are the nearest, because the nearer they are, the quicker they can get there in an emergency. So get your vet contacts, get your farrier contacts, and then it's just a case of buying the rest of the items. So the majority of times when I bought a horse, they came with tack, but if your horse isn't coming with tack, then you are going to need a saddle, obviously for whatever discipline you ride. I'd go for a multi-purpose if you're not sure what you're going to do with your horse. You're going to need a girth for their size, so I just ask the people who currently own them what size girth they are. You're also going to need stirrup irons, stirrup leathers, and a numner. I'd go for at least one numner. More are always better, because then you have one to pop in the wash while your other one is being worn. So you're also obviously going to need a bridle. It depends how fancy you go. Sort of your bog standard bridle isn't too expensive. So you're also going to need reins and everything. So generally you can get your bridles like one piece, but then you'll have to buy your bits separately. So this is Charlie's, he's just in a loose ring snaffle, so obviously you need to consider which bit you're going to buy. So you may also need things like a martingale, riding boots, sort of depending what you're going to do. So if it's jumping, sort of tendon boots. If you're doing dressage, you need to see if they need boots. If they overreach a lot, you're going to need overreach boots, etc. But it depends on the sort of horse, but boots are just something to consider. They're not always a necessity. So tack gets very dirty from time to time, so you're going to need some things to clean it. One thing I'd just go with is just saddle soap and a sponge, possibly some oil. But if you are sort of lazy like me, you can get sort of like creams that sort of do it in one go. But you will definitely also need a sponge. This one is a bit dirty. So moving on to what you're going to need for your general horse care, you will definitely need at least one wheelbarrow. One will probably do you. Depending what bedding substrate they're on depends on the type of fork. So you may need a shavings fork like this one with the prongs if you're having shavings. Or you may need a traditional straw fork like this one. You'll definitely need a shovel, and you'll definitely need a brush. So we can't forget about poo picking. So you might want one of these, or you can just use a shavings fork for poo picking, which is what I do. So buckets will be your best friend. You will need at least 3 types of bucket. You're going to need a muck bucket for when you sort of pick their hooves out and stuff like that, a feed bucket, and a water bucket. I would recommend buying as many buckets as you can. Tub trucks are just the best thing ever invented. So another thing you're going to need are hay nets. I have so many hay nets, it's unreal. But I would recommend getting at least 2. That way you've got one that's always like filled, and then the other one that can be filled while the horse is eating one of them. That way you never run out. I would actually recommend getting 3, because if one breaks then you'll need a hay net. And hay nets do break from time to time, so make sure you do stock up on them. Okay, so moving on to feed, you're going to need some sort of bucket or container to keep your feed in. These ones work really well. They're just ones that you can get in your local equestrian store. So it depends what your horse is eating. Some horses don't even need any sort of concentrated feed at all. So you might want to just give them chaff or pony nuts or whatever you sort of want. Ask what they've been eating previously and sort of try and keep them on that, because any horses, their diet needs to be changed very, very gradually, and if they've just moved homes, times of stress is not the time to change their diet, otherwise you might end up with colic. So yeah, stick with whatever food they've been on previously. Things like supplements and stuff like that, I mean, these are all ours, aren't necessary most of the time, but sort of ask the previous owner what they've been on and they will happily sort of help you out and tell you what they need. Okay, so another thing you're going to need is a first aid kit for your horse. Now our first aid kit is very extensive, it's all of this stuff. You'll find that you just end up buying things as you go along, but I'll go through what I'd have just as sort of the first things you need. So we don't have them in here, we keep them somewhere else, but the first thing you're going to need are some scissors, because you will be using them for everything. I'd also recommend getting some Gamgee, so that's Gamgee. It's really good if you need to sort of put a bandage on or anything like that. You're also going to want some for poulticing, in case you need to put a poultice on. Cotton wool, you're going to need a little like sterile bucket, so that you can mix things. I'd definitely buy some hippie scrub, which is just like a disinfectant. Syringes, so I'd get a large one and a small one, because you never know when you're going to need a syringe. Things like Sudocrem, antiseptic healing creams, stuff like that you're definitely going to probably go through, so I'd buy some of those. You're also probably going to need some vet wrap bandages, some tail bandages, a thermometer, so that you know that if your horse has got a temperature or not. some wound cream / gel. I don't know where anything is in here, but I won't go through it, I'll just stick photos on. And then probably a box to keep it in. You can buy sort of first aid kits for horses, but they don't have that much stuff in. So if you do buy one, I'd probably get that for your basics, which will have like your basics, and you might just have to buy some like gamgee and some more cotton wool or something like that separate to it. Okay, so the next thing you're going to need to consider are rugs. You could go mental buying so many rugs because there are so many rugs for different things. But to be honest, I think to begin with, you're best off just buying 4 rugs. So the first one is a lightweight turnout. So this is something that you'll have on sort of during autumn, before it gets too cold, end of summer, and that's if it rains, you can pop, like if it's due to rain, you can pop their lightweight on and it stops them. So that's like a shower sheet, and your lightweight will last you a little while before it gets cold. Then you're going to need a heavyweight turnout rug, and this is for the winter to keep them nice and warm while they're in the fields. The other rug I would get is a stable rug, probably one for the winter, and then the final one I would get is a fly sheet. So obviously you're going to need a head collar for your horse. Most horses probably come with a head collar and lead rope, but I'd get another one as well, just as a spare, because if it ever breaks you will definitely need a backup. So you're also going to need a grooming kit, so you'll need a box or bag to keep your grooming kit in, and then the brushes as well. You can buy grooming kits so that have already come with everything, and you'll probably just have to buy sort of a few sprays. So this is what I would recommend having to begin with. So I'll go through all of the different things that I'd recommend having in your first sort of grooming kit. So you'll probably want some sort of detangler. This is good, or show sheen works really well as well. You can use that on their coat. You'll also probably want something like a magic brush. These are really good, I definitely recommend getting one of those. A rubber curl comb to get the mud and dirt off. A stiff brush, it's generally for their legs if they have like feathers and things like that. A metal curry comb to clean your brushes with. A normal comb. A hoof pick to clean their hooves out with. Some rubber bands in case you ever need to put a plait in, or you need to keep their hair out of their eyes or anything like that. A soft face brush. A dandy brush or body brush. And a mane and tail brush. You'll also want something like this. So this is a sweat scraper cum little comb thing, and I use this to get off excess coat, and that's really handy, especially when their coat is changing. You also may want some wipes, so these are very good for cleaning eyes, cleaning bums, and then you will also need some fly spray to get rid of the flies, especially in summer. Something else to consider is getting some sort of shampoo. We're pretty much out of this. You don't need medicated shampoo like we've got, but you'll probably want some sort of shampoo, a bucket and a sponge to clean your horse with. Okay guys, so those are all the basics. I think I've covered everything. If not, leave some comments below if you think I've missed anything, so people can see. There are obviously optional things that aren't like necessities, things like food scoops and food mixers. Fly masks are something to consider if your horses end up with a lot of flies on their face. Sun cream if they have white noses. It depends sort of what season that you get them in, because obviously you don't need sun cream in winter, so you can buy things as you go, which is the best thing to do, but obviously you need your sort of little stockpile of stuff ready for when you actually get them. So I hope this has been useful. If it has, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos on my little series of getting your first horse, so check those out, and I will see you guys really soon.